Welcome back. South African-based mobile telecommunications company MTN Group says its Dubai subsidiary has sold its Cyprus business to Monaco Telecom SA for 260 million euros. Africa's biggest mobile telecoms group said that as part of the deal to sell MTN Cyprus, it would allow the use of the MTN brand in Cyprus for up to 3 years for a fee. MTN Cyprus, which is the South African company's only business in the European Union, was acquired as part of the acquisition of telecoms holding company Investcom LLC in 2006. Johannesburg-listed MTN, which has businesses in 24 countries in Africa and the Middle East, is expanding in the continent and plans to launch a mobile service in Namibia in August. And Telecom Egypt has signed a memorandum of understanding with Liquid Telecom to enable the Pan-African Group to complete Africa's terrestrial fiber network stretching across the African continent. Liquid Telecom, a subsidiary of Econet Wireless Global, has been building a fiber network across southern Africa, covering Botswana, Democratic Republic of Congo, Lesotho, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. It also has a presence in Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. Liquid Telecom will link its network from Sudan into Telecom Egypt's network via a new cross-border interconnection, bringing together a 60,000-kilometer network that runs from Cape Town through all the southern, central, and eastern African countries and has now reached the border between Sudan and Egypt. And the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says China National Offshore Oil Corporation is willing to invest $3 billion in its existing oil and gas operation in Nigeria. During a visit to Nigeria's state-owned NNPC, CNOOC chief executive said the Beijing-based oil company had invested more than $14 billion in its Nigerian operations and expressed readiness to invest more. According to him, Nigeria is their largest investment destination, and they have also asked the NNPC to seek common grounds with CNOOC for enhanced productivity. Nigeria has been holding talks with oil majors over new finance agreements for joint ventures since last year. The NNPC last year signed financing agreements with Chevron and Shell worth at least $780 million to boost crude production and reserves. And in Libya, the citizens there already are struggling to make ends meet, have been hit by sharp increases in bread prices as a broken import systems and political splits have led to more financial pressures on ordinary citizens. Well, the price of bread, the staple of Libya's diet, shot up, adding financial burdens to the Libyan people, many of whom had already been struggling to get by.
Bakeries across the capital, Tripoli, had abruptly closed 2 weeks ago, explaining to puzzled customers that they have been forced to shut down due to high flour and oil prices. When they reopened, they posted apologetic notes pricing 3 small loaves at 1 Libyan dinar, which before had bought 8.
It isn't suitable, especially for those with limited income in addition to the liquidity crisis. And a family with 4, 5 or 6 children cannot afford to pay a dinar for 3 pieces of bread. God only knows how bad the situation is. When I want to make a sandwich for my son, it used to be 1 loaf, but now it's half a loaf. Some days we do not buy bread. I'm not going to lie, we are not able to buy this. Some days I have to buy on credit, but bread needs liquidity. They will not give bread on credit. Life has become really difficult in Libya.
Oil-rich Libya, with a population estimated at 6.5 million, was once one of the richest countries in the region. Before the 2011 uprising that overthrew Muammar Gaddafi, lavish subsidies meant 1 dinar bought 40 loaves of bread. Jamal al-Shabaini, the Tripoli-based head of Libya's state-run price stabilization fund, said only the state could guarantee a fair and stable bread price. But they had not been allocated money for supplying wheat or flour in the past 3 years.
The idea was that since the state was incapable of filling the subsidy gap due to a decrease in oil revenues, maybe to 200,000 barrels, and the drop in oil prices, which meant the state is unable to cover the subsidy, so the matter was left to the private sector. But in the light of the inability of government agencies to monitor or hold the private sector accountable, and in light of the issues we're witnessing with the supply, we finally know the reasons behind the drop in wheat, flour, and in other goods as well.
Economic woes in Libya accelerated in 2014 when competing governments, parliaments and central banks were set up in Tripoli and the East following disputed elections. Prices of basic goods have been volatile, in line with sharp swings in the value of the Libyan dinar on the parallel market. The gap between the fixed exchange rate of 1.4 dinars to the dollar and the black market rate widened after Libya's foreign currency revenue from disrupted oil production fell. A dollar currently buys around 7 dinars on the parallel market. Some of those giving dollars for imports at the official rate illegally cash them in, leaving scarce funds to bring essential goods into the country.
What will the country gain from importing wheat? When the government imports wheat, it can standardize the price and will be able to distribute it to Libyan mills at a fixed price. Each mills will not be able to claim that the costs are high, and then it will guarantee fixing the price of wheat, which will allow us to determine the cost of production and the profit margins of factories, and the Ministry of Finance can set the selling price of a ton of wheat.
According to the United Nations, some 1.1 million people require humanitarian assistance in Libya.
In the meantime, production at Libya's giant Sharara oil field is expected to fall by at least 160,000 barrels per day after 2 staff were abducted in an attack by an unknown group. The attack happened at a control station on the outskirts of Sharara, about 40 kilometers from the main part of the field. The National Oil Corporation says it expects output to drop by 160,000 barrels per day, although there are indications that the output at the field, which had been producing 200,000 to 300,000 barrels per day recently, had already dropped to below 100,000 barrels per day. Tripoli-based NOC operates Sharara in partnership with Repsol, Total, OMV and Equinor, formerly known as Statoil. The field in Libya's remote southwest has suffered security problems in the past, including raids in which vehicles and mobile phones have been stolen. And finally, oil prices today as concerns about supply disruptions east and Libyan ports reopened, while traders eyed potential supply increases by Russia and other producers. But global supply remained tight, with investors wary over the impact of production losses in several exporting countries. Brent crude was down 30 cents at $75.03 a barrel. U.S. light crude was down 50 cents at $70.51. Supply outages in Libya, a labor dispute in Norway, and unrest in Iraq all helped push oil prices higher late last week, although prices still fell for a second straight week. Russia and other oil producers may raise output by 1 million barrels per day or more if shortages hit the market. And that's it on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimizi Obi.